So ESPN FC's inaugural Hall of Fame announced today. Let's take you through the top five, shall we? Henry, Shearer, Scholes, Giggs and Steven Gerrard. Frank Lebeouf with us. But first, Julien to discuss this top five. Jules, inevitably, these lists are quite polarising. For you, who's missing from that five?
Yeah, it's a tough task really to pick five of some of the greatest players that played in the Premier League. I think Eric Cantona, for me, should be in this top five. Maybe ahead of Scholes or Giggs, I don't know, but it's the one for me that's missing there, because I think when he arrived in England and with Leeds United first, and then obviously everything that he built at Manchester United, everything that he achieved there, realised all those players that he inspired, his relationship with Sir Alex, but overall I think on the whole league and the whole country, not just the players that he played with or against, but I think he was the revolution. I think he revolutionized English football. I don't think the Premier League would have been a success as big as he has been without Cantona arriving there and his charisma, and they basically built the brand around him for those first years. And I think for me that's just immense and it's indispensable, and that's why for me he should be in this inaugural five.
And Jules, where's he from? Which country again? Where's Cantona from? I forget.
Well, yeah, accessibly, of course, being from France is another bonus point for him.
From one Frenchman then to another. Frank, for you, who's missing from that top five?
Well, first I have to agree with Jules. Cantona is missing, that's for sure. But on top of being French, I'm a Chelsea former player, so I'm going to say that either JT, John Terry, or Frank Lampard are missing from the list. Well, the five players that have been mentioned are fantastic players, and no doubt they should be in the list. But you have to expand that list because you have so many other players that should be in it. And John Terry and Frank Lampard.
That's it. So these are the top five. This is the top five. You have to take some out. You have to put some in.
Yeah, well, I will put Shearer out, and I will put well, if I don't put Eric Cantona because I don't want to steal the thunder of Jules, I will put John Terry, captain of England, winning trophies, legend in England and all around the world. He should be in the list.
All right then, boys. Thierry Henry, no doubt, deserves to be in this list. I'm always fascinated with the relationship that Thierry Henry has with fans in England in comparison to those in France. Jules, for those who maybe aren't aware of it, just explain it.
Yeah, I mean, the relationship that Thierry had with France is fascinating. Not only because he won all those trophies, obviously the World Cup and the European Championship, but also because he had a sort of a loving, hating relationship with people in France. He certainly felt very early on that London and England were more his country than France in many ways, and I think it's not a surprise to see that he actually came back to live in London after his career, after he finished in MLS, for example. So this is fascinating. Then the play in itself, I don't think we need to talk too much about it. He was not just an incredible talent, but the personality, the determination, whether you liked it or not, but nothing was never good enough for Thierry. That's how he was brought up by his dad. He could score 5 goals, 6 goals as a 13-year-old, but it was never enough. The dad wanted 2, 3, 5, 4, 6 more goals. And I think as a professional, as a footballer, then Thierry kept that mindset. And I think that's what also separated him from the other great players. He was above that because of that kind of personality he had, as well as all the goals and all the talents.
Frank, how would you explain the relationship the French have with Thierry Henry compared to the English?
I think it's hard to say why French people don't really like Thierry Henry. He didn't play a lot in France. He played a little bit with Monaco and led very quickly to Italy, to Juventus, and then went to play for the Gunners and was very successful there. Of course, you have the game with national team against Ireland for the qualification of 2010 World Cup, when there was a controversy about what he did in the handball, and it didn't help to make sure that he was likable. There is a little bit of, for some people who think of that, a little bit of arrogance from Thierry at some point, according to some journalists and some people in France. But like a little bit Eric Cantona. Eric Cantona is not really loved by the French population. They are more loved by the English than the French. They are two fantastic players, people that I know. They're very good people, but they are not very known by the population, and they are judged, maybe badly judged, but they are judged by the French people.
On that subject, Jules, we mentioned Cantona. Who's on a higher pedestal, Henry or Eric Cantona?
Oh, that's a good one. I mean, you've got I think the Holy Trilogy is Michel Platini, Zinedine Zidane, and Raymond Kopa, and then below that you probably have Thierry first because of the success that he had overall, which especially with the national team was much better than Cantona ever had. You know, the winning the World Cup, winning the Euros in Frank's team, where was always better than anything that Cantona ever achieved with the national team. He missed out on some competitions. He went to some, but didn't really play well there or shine or anything like that. So I think just for that, Thierry is probably a little bit ahead. But Cantona will always be the guy that French people always misunderstood, the one that never really found his way back home and then had to go away to find the success like he did with people that maybe loved him more and understood him more than the French would have ever done.
Who's the better player for you, Henry or Cantona?
Oh, that's two different generations, and I think in terms of, I mean, skill-wise, I'm more fond of Thierry Henry because of his pace, his stamina. Cantona was more an artist, and it's what he really did for Manchester United after his ban, and he came back and scored so many goals, and Manchester came back from far away against Newcastle, and they were winning 1-0 all the time. Cantona scoring otherwise all the time the only goals. So he really did something special for Manchester United, and it's why he became the king at Old Trafford. But in terms of football in his career, I think there is a lack of consistency in his performances during his career. When Thierry was at the top for so many years that I have to pick him.
Meanwhile, Frank, I know you got him out of your top 5. Alan Shearer, though, regarded as one of the best Premier League strikers ever. For those people maybe a little younger who haven't seen him play, you obviously played up against him. What was it about him that made him so good?
He never gave up. He never gave up. He was an outstanding striker, always believing that he could score a goal, absolutely being sure that he would score a goal every game that he's going to play. He was a hard guy. He was an old generation type of striker. He broke my nose once, you know, not even looking at the ball, just looking at my nose and elbowing me like that, and so he broke my nose. But I think he broke so many central defender noses that we can never count how many he did. And but he was a fighter. He had the spirit that all English striker used to have, and you don't see anymore. So I have respect for him for what he did. And what he achieved, especially when he won the title with the Rovers, Blackburn Rovers. But I think he should have played in better teams to be really judged.
Boys, thank you very much. For a lot more on this top 5, go over to the website. Ian Dark and Stevie Nicol giving us their opinions.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN+.